Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is part 3 of the OmniStudio Starter Series. If you have not watched the previous two videos, I'll leave the links in the description. Do check that out before continuing with this video. So today we are going to discuss about FlexCards. If you remember the basic concepts we have talked about in the previous video about an application, you must remember that to facilitate user interaction with the stored data, we need UI components. FlexCard in OmniStudio is an example of those UI components. FlexCard lets the user see contextual data in an at-a-glance manner. Now what does it actually mean? Let's understand this with the help of an example. On your screen is a FlexCard for an insurance company's customer named Sophia. Not only this card shows summarized information for Sophia such as her full name, address and her insurance history, but also provides some clickable actions such as update address and contact details. Next on the screen you have some key capabilities that FlexCards have. FlexCards can be viewed on any device. FlexCard can display data from multiple data sources. These are built very quickly using drag and drop elements. FlexCard actions are relevant to the context of the card. FlexCards are also embeddable in other FlexCards or in an LWC-enabled omniscript. FlexCards can display more details on demand with flyouts, and they have multiple states that can display based on conditions. FlexCards are the beginning and ending point for customer transactions. Now it's time we experience FlexCards in real life, so let's move on to our demo org. So let's log into our practice org. We go to login.salesforce.com and again we need to enter our username and password and hit login. Alright, so once we are in, we just need to click on App Launcher and select OmniStudio. Now if you click on this drop down, you would be able to see all the options that are available in this particular OmniStudio app. So what I did, I just click on OmniStudio FlexCards and this will open OmniStudio FlexCards list page where you would be able to see all the existing FlexCards, and this is where we are going to create a new FlexCard from. But before moving on, you must be noticing this warning sign over here, and if you click on this, something like this would pop up and this says URLs needed for LWC not added to remote site settings. So whenever you create a new org for practice related to OmniStudio package, you would be coming across this particular warning, and what this will do is it will not allow you to save any FlexCards or preview it. So in order to be able to do that, we would need to create some remote site settings as mentioned on this warning. I have created a video to fix this particular warning and I will leave the link in the description as well as on the iCards. Please do check that out, and let me just get rid of this warning and we'll come back. So now I have done the remote site configuration that were required. So let's refresh this page and see if the warning goes away. And there you go, we don't have the warning any longer. So let's try to play around with FlexCards and by creating a new FlexCard over here. So we click on new. You need to give a name and a title to your new FlexCard. I'll name it as FlexCard Demo 1. And the title will populate as soon as you hit tab. The theme that we're going to use is gonna be Lightning. And another option that is available for the theme is Newport. The author, let it be as company for now, and for description, let's write something as an example. Alright, so we click on next. And as soon as we click on next, we are going to get this window, which is gonna ask to select a suitable data source. And for now, we are not going to select anything. Let it be on the default radio button, that is of none. And these are the options that you get to select as data sources, because whenever you're going to show something to the end user, it must fetch some data. So this is where we need to configure the data source so that we can show the org data to the end user. We have SOQL query. You can simply write the SOQL query and whatever you have written, it will return. We also have social search. We have Apex remote that can be configured as a data source. Then we have REST. We have data Raptor. We have integration procedures, streaming API. You can also paste your custom JSON data. And the last option is SDK. Let it be on none and click on save. The FlexCard is saving right now and it shows success. The LWC created successfully. So this is basically the FlexCard Designer. So on the top we have the header part. This right here is the header, as you can see. Now this header contains information related to the FlexCard, that is the metadata. It has the author name, the current version, status, is it cloned from any FlexCard that was existing, or is it a child FlexCard, last modified, the theme, and the description. Along with that, it also has some actions aligned over here. You can preview your FlexCard that you have designed. You can create a new version. You can clone it. You can activate, deactivate it. And also you can go ask for help. Actually, let's click on help and see what happens. So this opens in Designer kind of help box, and you can click on these links and learn more about the FlexCards and the Designer. Alright, so the bottom part of the FlexCard Designer has this canvas. So canvas is basically where you are going to design your user interface. And right now, if you see, it is selected, or it is basically there is one state of this FlexCard, which is the active state. and this is the default state as well. If you want to know more about FlexCard states, here is a link. You can go and check out what states are in FlexCards. Anyways, moving forward, we have 3 different panels on the right hand side. We have build, we have properties, we have style panel, and we have setup. Now the setup panel is common, or you can say setup panel is for the entire FlexCard. We have different properties over here. You can enable the omniscript support, that is, it can be embedded on an omniscript if you enable this particular option. For the time being, we are going to switch it off. Then we have the repeat record option, and we also have the help options over here. If you hover over it or click on it, you would be able to see. Now this tells you about the repeat options, and you can learn about each of these options clicking on the question mark. Also on the I button, if you hover, you would be able to see a short description, like on the repeat records it says disable to display content that does not need repeating. We'll come to this when we fetch records. For the time being, let it switch off. We also have the styling options where you can link in a custom lightning style sheet, and this will apply to the entire FlexCard. We have also created videos on custom CSS in FlexCards, so do check that out. I'll leave the link in the description as well as in the I button. You also have the options for event listeners, session variables, exposed attributes, and this is where the data source is configured. So let's do one thing. The data Raptor that we created in the previous part, which if you have not watched, I would highly recommend you to watch that video first before continuing to this video. Let's make some changes to our existing data Raptor, and then we can configure the data source here with a data Raptor. So let's select the data Raptor, and the data Raptor that we had created was data Raptor demo 1, which was basically an extract kind of data Raptor. Now this is where you can configure the input parameters if your data Raptor needs one. So in our example, we don't need any data Raptor inputs. So we will simply select it. And before saving and fetching this, we need to make some changes to our existing data Raptor. So let's go ahead and make those changes. So if you see, it was configured in such a way that account object was being queried and the name should have been equal to a key value, and the key given in the test is Acme. So if we execute it, it would basically return only one record. But in our example, we would require number of records. So let's go and make some changes in the existing one. If we remove the input parameters from here and click on execute, we should be getting something like this. it's a list of records, account records. So we are getting a number of records. I think this should work. So let's get back to the FlexCard demo and save and fetch. Alright, we are getting this many records from the data source that we have just configured. This is a tabular form that you can see. You can also see the raw JSON that is being fetched from the data source. And we have 12 records. Hit OK, and this is how you set the data source in a FlexCard. Moving on, if you go to the build panel, you now should be able to see fields that have been populated from the data source that we have just configured. We have account ID, we have account name, and we have account phone. If we click on save and fetch once again, you will be able to see the exact same columns in the table. We have account phone, we have account ID and account name. So these are only populated when you have configured and saved and fetched records from the data source. Now inside this build panel, you would also have the output options, which are basically called display options. Display components rather. We have actions, we have block, chart, custom LWC, and a variety of these are available. If you scroll below, you would be able to see some input options as well. The components that we have for taking input are checkboxes, currency, data, date, time, and you can learn about all of these by clicking on this question mark. And this will open the Designer help for you, and you can learn more about these different display components. Now there are two ways to configure this. Either you can simply drag and drop the account ID, name, and account phone. Let me just show you how. So we just have to drag and drop it on the canvas. And all the field properties, as soon as you drag and drop it, it will take you to the properties related to this particular components. And here are the properties related to this particular field. Now, as you can see, it has already configured the output for us in this particular component. And this is due to the fact that we have configured the data source and fetched records. Again, if we go to the style panel over here, you would be able to see what are the style values. As you can see, the dimension for this is currently 12 out of 12 grids, and you can simply play around with it and make it 6. The same can be done by simply dragging and dropping. This component. It does the same thing. So the properties and the style panel, if you have selected a particular component on the screen, these are going to show the values related to this only. Now let's drag and drop another field, which is account phone, and let's reduce it to half, this as well. And now they are aligned adjacent to each other. And in this way, you can just play around with the display and you can style these as you like. Now let's try to preview it once. Be patient, guys, these things take time. Now, as you can see, it is showing up on the screen, but there is no data. It simply shows output. So how to fix this? Let's go back to design and see what went wrong. So if you see the placeholder is output, that means it is showing this output only and not the actual data that has been fetched. But as you can see, it is mapped already, right? It is mapped to the account phone. Still, it is not showing up. Let's try to do one thing and let's go back and click on repeat records. Because we have more than one record, so we need to click on repeat records so that multiple lines of this name and phone appears on the demo screen. So let's preview it once again and see if it's working now or not. And now we have fixed the issue that we were getting. The data was not being displayed because the repeat records was off and there were multiple records, and the system was unable to figure out which record to fetch and show. So once we enabled the repeat records, it is showing us all the available records. This can also be done by simply dragging and dropping a data table. So let me do one thing and just delete whatever we have configured on the canvas till now. So we deleted this and we'll delete this as well. And simply drag and drop a data table. So if you want to learn more about data table, just click on the question mark, and this should give you an idea of what data tables are and how to use it. In the interest of time, I'm just exiting this window and simply dragging and dropping it over here. And now if we click on preview, you would see something like this. But this time, if you see, if you have used a data table, the table itself is being repeated multiple times. So why is this? Because we have enabled the repeat records in our card setup. So just switch it off and preview it once again, and this should be able to fix the issue. There you go. So I hope you must have gotten an idea of how FlexCards and Designer works, and we have not covered a lot of things in here, like we have not covered how the FlexCard styling works, how the FlexCard elements, what are the basic FlexCard elements that are available for us to use. We have not covered the FlexCard states, though we have a video on this. You can check it out from the description down below. We have not covered FlexCard actions and the flyouts. We have not covered how it can be embedded in an omniscript or in another FlexCard. I would link another video which is related to this topic. We have not explored the various data source options that are available, and we have also not covered how we can deploy our FlexCard in an app. I would make a video on these topics if I get a good response from you guys. So thanks for watching the video, and do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.